很快，好，开始了。
开始了吗？不要，还不要。
So I'm gonna do another video on book recommendations. Mindfuck T-shirt, cop it. Yeah, I did a video on book recommendation a few months ago. I listed 10 sort of introductory books that I read years ago, and people requested me to do another one, so I'm gonna do another one today. Okay, well, the first book that I recommend today is I Am Strange Loop by Douglas Hofstadter. Basically, it's a book about consciousness. He said that Douglas Hofstadter is a physicist. The main theme is that consciousness is something that he used the word soul in this book a lot, but he doesn't believe in the immaterial soul. He believes that immaterial matter, like atoms, can give rise to consciousness in a self-referential looping kind of mechanism. Like I do this a lot in my videos, like I would take a camera and point it at the camera, or like my videos where I zoom in and out of the video itself. And a very concrete or very simple example that he gave in the beginning of the book is mirrors. When you point a mirror itself, you get like an endless reflection of itself. That extends to infinity. And he said that consciousness arises out of this mechanism, right? Out of this self referential loops, to call it, where there's always, when you think of a thought, that you always need a thought to think about that thought, and it goes on and on like that. He said that inside our heads, we have huge gatherings of other heads, and in those other heads that are inside our head, we are also inside the heads that are inside those people's heads, and we're all inside each other's heads. Again, in this sort of like this self-referential relationship, or this reflecting relationship, where things are always embedded inside each other, and that's how meanings of subjectivity, and how consciousness operates. Anyway, so that was a long fucking summary. Anyway, second book I recommend is The Mysterious Flame by Colin McGinn. Basically, this is a good introductory to consciousness of mind, especially the mind-body problem subject. How the mind arises from the brain. How does the brain, an inanimate matter, something that's physical, something that's that doesn't really, it's not really different from any other physical organs in the body, or even down to the very fundamental level. It's made out of atoms, just like this table. But how does the brain, how does the consciousness, how does this feeling of subjectivity arise from this physical organ? And yeah, it's a good book to start if you want to get into the mind-body problem, which I don't really give a shit about anymore. But I used to be really obsessed with this problem, and I started lifting. Anyway. Third book, another introduction to philosophy book. It's by Brian McGee. If you look at this guy on YouTube, Brian McGee, he had a whole series of videos on I think BBC or ABC, or I forgot, one of those channels that they used to actually play really intellectual shows. Let me look it up right now. Brian McGee, where he interviewed a bunch of philosophers. About each philosopher talked about one philosopher. Like here you have Anthony Quinn on Spinoza. You have it's called The Great Philosophers. Right, there's like a playlist of this stuff. I'll provide a link, but this is very valuable. I think I learned a lot watching this, and it's pretty interesting because he's a great interviewer. He's a philosopher himself. He knows a lot about philosophy. He's not like just a mindless interviewer from NBC or something. Yeah. Anyway, so check out his series, and if you like this guy, check out his book. And basically, he wrote a really acclaimed book. It's called Confessions of a Philosopher. Basically, he had a pretty interesting life, and he had, as a philosopher, and he talked about basically it's his autobiography. He's talking about all the stuff that he learned as a philosopher, and of course, if you're a philosopher, you can learn about all the the classics and stuff like that, and all the way to the modern times. So basically, it's his journey through philosophy, and it's an interesting introduction to philosophy book that isn't like a textbook. The talk about it is called the morals. Actually, I just got this book. Can you check it out? See, I picked it up at the bookshop without even knowing anything about it because I thought the cover is wonderful. And then I read the back. I was like, "Well, this book's trippy." Basically, I think this guy's a genius, man. Christopher Hackman. No, I mean this is his first book. He's a composer. He graduated with a BA in music composition. Anyway, so this guy's a musician, and then this book is about it's a fiction book, but it's one of the best fiction books I've ever read in my life, and I'm not done with it. I'm only like a third of the way through it, but couldn't put it down. Anyway, so basically, this book is about the narrator. The I in this book is a music student. Was a music student. He studied piano, and but he graduated, but then he didn't go into music. He went to film, and I liked it already with that premise because that was basically my story. And he at the music school that he went to, he met this really talented child prodigy named Arthur. And this Arthur guy, man, he's an eccentric guy, like completely outside the box in his thinking, and is a violin prodigy. And he had all those crazy ideas about what art should be and things like that. And basically, he pulled a stunt that got him expelled. He crapped on stage when he was doing a solo. And then the narrator met Arthur. I mean, he years after they graduated, he bumped into him again, and then Arthur, right? His name is Arthur Morris, and this book is called The Morals. And this Arthur Morris guy is actually writing a book, right? And the book is called The Morals. So you basically reading a book about a book. A book written in a book, right? And then and it's funny because the guy who wrote this book, he was a music student who went and wrote a book. You know what I'm saying? So he's actually writing about himself, and inside the book, there's a book within the book. So it's kind of like the first book that I told you guys about, that I Am a Strange Loop. And I'm fascinated by this topic and this sort of self-contained, self-referential mechanisms. And this book really would teach you a lot about art and the fine line between art and obscenity. A lot of really interesting people in there, although artists are all fucked up and things like that. But I would love for you guys to check this book out, and we can talk about it. Maybe I'll do a video just on this book after I finish it. And okay, number 6. All right. Okay. Well, is it 6 or 5? Whatever. Fifth one. Okay. This is called the Schopenhauer Cure. Okay. This book has really helped me with NoFap. And basically, this book is about a guy who was a sex addict, and he went to a therapist. And the therapist. Anyway, this guy, the sex addict, he went to therapy who didn't know how to cure him. And then he went and found philosophy, and especially Schopenhauer, who he said cured him because of his ideas. Anyway, check it out if you're struggling with NoFap. Okay, one more. The Art Instinct. Well, this is the book by Dennis Dutton. This guy died, but when I bought this book, he was still alive. Anyway, so he argued that art is an instinct. He argued that art was actually beneficial to the survival of the species, and he didn't like abstract and modern, like postmodern art, because he thought that dissonance in music and abstract paintings and the Pollocks and and he thought that modern paintings were against our instinct, and no matter how hard we try, we would never find dissonance beautiful. We would never be aesthetically attracted to weird, abstract, and postmodern paintings. We like them because we're intellectually inclined to like them. We learn to like them culturally. We read about them. We're like, okay, this is an interesting idea. But instinctually, we don't find them beautiful or aesthetically pleasing to the senses, because our brains are pre-wired to perceive, harmony in shapes, the colors and in the music, or certain compositions are more pleasing to the eyes because of certain reasons. Certain brain predispositions, and he said that we all like everyone universally. When you talk about instincts and you talk about human nature, he said art is a part of human nature. I mean, our appreciation for certain kinds of art are also universal in our human instincts and are part of our human nature, like such as everybody throughout history, throughout the world. It's universally proven that every culture um, produced landscape paintings, and even babies when they see beautiful landscape paintings, they look at it more because it's beneficial to survival if we when we see an open landscape with a lot of greens and even a lot of flowers and things like that, it means that the land and soil is fertile and it's open space and mountains where you can climb up and look see the wide open spaces that it's safe when you're safer when you're at that spot because you can spot the danger further away. Okay, goodbye.